Thanks for tuning into the Replatform podcast, sponsored by Amplience, an API-first headless CMS and DAM in one, and Klaviyo, an email and SMS marketing automation platform. You're listening to myself, James Gerd, and my co-host, Paul Rogers. How are you, mate? Ready for another episode?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's been a very fast, heavy day today with these recordings.
Excellent. Hello to regular listeners. Warm welcome. If you join us for the first time, thank you. And we're glad you found us. You'll be truly overwhelmed by the excitement of e-commerce that we'll bring to you today. Do subscribe to get alerts. We drop a new episode every week, and we'd love a like on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, etc. It make us feel very, very happy about ourselves. So today we are on to reducing e-commerce payment friction with one-click checkout specialist Fast. So this is going to be a cracking episode. Fast have been in the news loads recently, and ironically, interestingly, we've just recorded 2 episodes, not planned, who happen to be Fast customers. So it's like the ultimate triangles coming together. What we're going to cover today: Fast mission for e-commerce, what impact they're having on conversion, and the payment methods they're supporting and where they might be going. So a warm welcome to co-founder and CEO Dom. How are you, sir?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for having me.
Where are you today for our listeners?
I'm in Tampa, Florida. So the sunny end of the United States in this cold winter.
Yeah. You're definitely going to be warmer than I am today. Before we start asking loads of questions, can you give our listeners a bit of an introduction, who you are and what you do at Fast, and also how do you position Fast?
Sure. Yeah. So, hi, I'm Dom. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Fast. I started the company in 2019, March 2019. So we're nearly 3 years old. And maybe to give you the kind of 2-minute background, I had shut down my last company, ran out of money and shut down my last company, took a couple of months off. And sadly, my son was in hospital for a few weeks. He's fine now. But we had my wife's grandmother staying with us, who was trying to buy groceries at our house one night, forgot a password and just couldn't check out. I remember thinking it was kind of so crazy how hard it was for people to buy things, how the flow was broken. Doesn't make sense why everyone has to have a password individually for every site, why we have to fill in the same checkout information on every site from scratch. And so we started Fast. I started Fast to kind of solve that. And it's been a really fast journey to kind of get here. And the way that we position Fast is one-click checkout, right? Which is exactly what the product does. It's a button that says Fast Checkout. You click it and it says autocomplete. It's also the world's greatest oversimplification of a company because we have a very deep and rich product ecosystem behind that button. But, to give you an idea, as I said, the button is a one-click checkout, but there is some nuance in that one click from where is the most important question I think that we should be talking about. Because I actually say we're not a payments company, right? Now, payment is a big part of what we do. We do take payment as part of that checkout, but checkout is so much more than payment, right? If you look at the people who run checkout at brands, they don't just optimize payments, right? You can see payment teams at brands who operate payments. Checkout is much more than that. And if you think about the typical flow of e-commerce, you click add to cart, view cart, checkout, enter your email address, hit next, and, either enter a password if you've been there before or enter an address if you haven't. Then you hit next, and then they say, how do you want to pay? And then you've got like 10 payment buttons, right? Everyone's trying to optimize it like last click. For Fast, we sit right at the front of that process, right? So there's typically on the product page, you'll see a fast checkout button or add to cart. And so you can buy in one click right from the moment that you're looking at the product. You can skip the entire process thereafter. You can still have a fast checkout button in the cart and checkout. We sit there as well. But the biggest lift that we give brands is sitting at a product level. And it's pretty unique. Most brands refuse to have other payment buttons sitting at a product page level, but because of our batching technology, we are on every single product page of every one of our merchants.
Great. So I'll ask the first question. Initially, this was a bit more about kind of the mission, but I think you've already covered some of that. So you started in 2019. I didn't realize it was that recent that you started. And I think a lot of people have seen you everywhere. Obviously, there's loads of stuff in the news about like you raising money and everything else. How have you grown in those 3 years, and who are some of the kind of big brand customers you've got?
Yeah, so we have grown extremely quickly, I think, which is fairly obvious. But we aren't quite 3 years old. In fact, our checkout only launched in September 2020, so about 18 months ago. Despite that, we have over 1,000 live merchants today, right? And we pretty much signed up the first 1,000 SME merchants in our first 12 months, which is very, very quick. But over the last 6 months, we've been selling into a lot of big enterprise, both in the US, in the UK, in Australia. And for some of those key brands in the UK, Revolution Beauty is a great customer of ours. Large global beauty brand, but headquartered in the UK. We're a great partner. Femlux, another great fashion company in the UK. Obviously, Worth, as you mentioned before, Afro Drops. We have quite a number of large UK deals already live today. As well as a number that are launching soon and being announced soon. We have a number of very, very large UK-based brands that you can expect to be coming on board soon. On top of that, Tottenham Hotspur in the UK is also going live with Fast very soon, both online on their websites. You can buy all of your merchandise in one click, as well as offsite and in stadiums, right? In fact, just on the weekend past, we actually had branding throughout the Tottenham Stadium, and you can expect to be able to buy merchandise using fast checkout and QR codes at every one of their home games moving forward as well.
Great. And then, so James spoke to Worth, who you just mentioned, I think it's last week or the week before. I couldn't join, but I know they said that 20% of their checkouts were going through Fast, and they said lots of positive things. What percentage of checkouts typically go through Fast versus the standard checkout? And a question I have is, like, how many people have the two options? Because like I asked the person we had on earlier, like, why have the other checkout option? Because I don't know whether it's that you maybe, I don't know if you support some of the other third parties maybe, and we can come on to that later on. But yeah, how many people typically have both options versus one as well?
So most of our merchants have not even just two options. Most of our merchants will have multiple options, right? PayPal, Apple Pay, Google Pay, Amazon Pay, PayPal, Klarna, whatever, pick your payment buttons. And then so you can have, you can think of standard, or we call it slow checkout, as the form that maybe can have credit card and then have the other payment buttons. Most of our merchants have a panel, right? They probably have 5 or 6 different mechanisms to pay in some capacity. Across our entire merchant network, our average share of wallet quarter to date is over 31%. So 31% of all transactions roll through Fast, as opposed to other payment methods of any type, whether it's the merchant using slow checkout with credit card, whether it's PayPal, Apple Pay, Google Pay. We typically have the highest share of wallet of any express checkout method that there is. And now, to your point, we do have merchants who go exclusive, who remove everything else. It's actually becoming more and more popular. We don't push for it. We don't push for it up front, frankly, because it's easier and for us to do deals. And we know that just by the merchant installing, we have a very large share of wallet instantly. We don't need to push the merchant into giving us more share of wallet, like proactively, because what happens is consumers use the button, right? It's the fastest way for them to buy anything. A huge portion of their customers will use it straight away without any extra incentive. And then over time, to a point, merchants do start removing other buttons on their own, right? Because they're like, you know what? We don't need to have 7 options anymore, because Fast can serve all of these customers, and they'll actually do it at a higher percentage rate, like as in a higher conversion rate, than if we have 5 or 6 other options. But we don't dictate it. We don't need to have a heavy foot or a heavy hand with negotiations. We're like very easy to do business with, but we do see a lot of people removing options over time. And
you talked about the speed being that's the key thing. It's one click, but it's also the speed at which you're doing it. Have you time stamped it anywhere? Do you have any data you can share in terms of, like, how much time improvements it gives to the customer? Because the end customer benefit is obviously the key driver for usage here.
For sure, yeah. It's a really good question. We've got more and more data coming through all the time. One of our largest integrations to date is a merchant in the US who we haven't announced yet, so I won't say the exact merchant name, but it's $1 billion plus seller, right? It's a very, very large site. And it's actually the most responsive integration too. Their APIs are more responsive than any other platform we integrated with so far. And the average checkout is about 2.5 seconds, right? For somebody who's used Fast before, it's extremely quick. Compare that to typical checkout. I believe that PayPal, typically in industry, not by our metrics, but by industry metrics, a PayPal user, so this is an existing PayPal user, the typical checkout takes 63 seconds, I believe, 1 minute and 3 seconds. And so this is for a returning user for PayPal checking out. So it's a huge time increase. And what you're calculating there is actually still only the saving of time for on-site checkout. one of the most incredible parts of Fast is not just on-site checkouts, off-site checkout. And this is our headless checkout. We talked about, Tottenham Hotspur and rolling out QR codes so you can buy a jersey in stadium, right? This isn't about it's giving you a link to go search their merchandise site and then go add to cart, view cart, checkout, and go through 10 steps. This is about scan the code, instantly buy a jersey, right? Scan the code, instantly buy a scarf. And it's obviously not just QR codes. Over the holidays, we worked with Saks Off Fifth, obviously a huge $500 million a year business in the US, to integrate Fast. And they were rolling out headless checkout campaigns on GQ, usweekly.com, popsugar.com, some of the biggest publishers in the world, so that you can buy directly from the gift guide on these publications. You were buying it from Saks Off Fifth, natively integrated into their commerce platform. You can use their coupon codes, everything else. But it meant that consumers could buy in one click. So it was 2.5 seconds to buy from a gift guide on GQ, buying it directly from Saks Off Fifth. So, again, where PayPal is measuring the time at the end of a checkout funnel for you to check out, we're measuring the time from the point of inspiration, vastly different. You could be talking about difference of like 10 plus minutes compared with our checkout speed. And I think this is a really exciting part of what we do.
Yeah, makes sense. I've seen, I think a lot of people have seen the Instagram ads where you have the two checkouts next to each other. I've seen that loads of times. So you mentioned Tottenham there, and obviously James spoke with Worth before. A lot of the businesses that I've seen adopt Fast have been big commerce. Is that a big kind of focus for you? Have you got kind of a big planned kind of go-to-market strategy with them?
Yeah, so BigCommerce has been a phenomenal partner and obviously still are. I'm a big fan of the BigCommerce ecosystem and team. They were the first platform that we supported as a company. So when we launched in September 2020, we launched with support only for BigCommerce merchants. And so we scaled throughout that ecosystem. I think today we support something like 500 BigCommerce merchants we have live, maybe north of that number now. So it's a really considerable part of our ecosystem by volume of merchants. What we have seen, obviously, as we go into like large enterprise and strategic $1 billion plus accounts, a lot of them running homegrown platforms. So we've seen a shift in the processing volume that we do, where a lot of that in the higher end, which we've been onboarding lately, has been in homegrown platforms. But BigCommerce is still a large ecosystem, over 60,000 merchants. They control tens of billions of dollars in GMV across their merchant base. So it's a key opportunity for us and a great partner. The platform means that we can offer, a great checkout experience to businesses at all size. It takes us 30 minutes to get a BigCommerce store live. Like, it's very, very quick. And this could be a merchant that turns over tens of millions of dollars a year or more. So it really is an exceptional platform and partner for us.
A question I've got around one of the features that I think really stands it apart, because I've used it as a customer. I've used it on Worth, a few other stores. I can't remember which ones. But the bit I loved and I hadn't understood initially was that you can edit your basket. Is it up to 5 minutes afterwards, or is it set? But does the retailer set that length for how long the basket can be edited, or do you?
It's configurable per merchant. Great question. And so batching is one of our most unique features in market, right, of anyone else. This is also the sole reason why merchants put us on product pages, right? And it is a very, very important feature set. So it's not PayPal, Apple Pay, Google Pay. These payment buttons could be on product page, right? You can link to checkout from the product page. Retailers refuse to, because there isn't a retailer that only wants to sell one item, right? Retailers want to sell multiple items. And if you have one of these typical checkout buttons or just a link to checkout from the product page, then you're sending people through that conversion flow all the way for each item individually. So even if a consumer shopped on a merchant site for, say, 5 minutes and they bought 3 items, the merchant would have 3 orders sitting in their order management system. Their warehouse or their fulfillment centers would fulfill 3 orders individually. So each item would turn up in its own box, right? Which means the merchant's tripling their shipping and handling cost. It means that the consumer's card is being charged 3 times. So the merchant is paying 3 payment fees, right? And so the fixed fee component they're paying each time. So the economics of the order go in the complete wrong direction for a merchant, right? Because their costs go up at the same time the average order values and items per order go down. So when we first built checkout, we knew this, right? But obviously for a consumer, the fastest and easiest way for them to buy is from the product page, right? From the moment that they're looking at a product. And we all know that there's one extremely successful e-commerce company in Amazon that has a buy now button on every product page, right? It's very clear that buy now, like being able to buy from the product page, is the best way to maximize the amount of the sales that you'll bring in. The difference is that Amazon have lots and lots of engineers that built batching for themselves, right? So that if you click buy now, buy now, buy now from Amazon, it'll all turn up in the same box a few days later, right? And they'll only charge your card once. They built batching for themselves. We are the only company outside of Amazon that built that exact same technology, but we built it for every other merchant. So you can click fast checkout, fast checkout, fast checkout. It'll all turn up in the same box a few days later. For the merchant, only gets charged one payment fee, only one, shipping and handling cost from their fulfillment centers. And for the consumer, not only can you edit your order, so you can do things like change quantity, add or remove products, you can change your address, change the card you want to use, you can add a coupon code after the fact, right? And of course, you can keep browsing the site and buy more items. And so batching is this incredible feature that not only keeps the economics in situ with where the merchant wants them, we can actually increase the economics for them, right? We can do post-purchase upsells natively integrated into our own checkout. So we can make better suggestions for consumers as to what they probably want to buy along with this product. And we do that really well, and it greatly increases average order values. So batching is an incredible feature, very, very unique in market. And frankly, it's been one of our biggest levers for growth to date. But to answer your question directly, yes, the batching window is configurable per merchant. It defaults to 5 minutes. Most merchants have it set at 5 minutes. It's a great time for e-commerce, but it resets every time you make a change to the order. The 5 minute resets, right? So if you add a product, another 5 minutes. If you change the card, another 5 minutes. If you're still browsing, the whole idea is while you're shopping, then we want to keep that window alive, right? There's no point in cutting that off. But as soon as you're done, 5 minutes after your last step, then we will process the order and away you go.
And that bit, the point you mentioned about it being one order, not three orders, and therefore not duplicating transaction fees. How does it behind the scenes? Are you simply pre-authoring stuff then until that checkout that 5 minutes has elapsed, and then it's
we capture at the end of the term. Yeah, in the same way that Amazon does. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Very similar.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And I guess linked to that, because features is such a key thing for like retailers looking at what's the added benefit to just having a speedy checkout. Mm-hmm. What have been the kind of key new features or integrations that have come in recently, and what's planned for 2022?
For sure. So headless checkout is the most transformative thing, I think, happening in commerce, right? And so, I think it's pretty clear that in 5 years from now, most commerce won't be happening on a brands.com or .co.uk. Right? The reality is that most commerce is shifting to social commerce, live streaming commerce. Every content platform is trying to bring commerce functionalities on site. We've got apps like List or whatever else is. There are all of these discovery sources, and all of these discovery sources are now trying to bring the transaction onto their platform. Why make the consumer leave, right? Why give a crappy affiliate link where they can't get attribution anymore and send them elsewhere? And how can we start to monetize the actual transaction as opposed to just the eyeballs? And so, and brands are desperately trying to be able to solve through these channels, or would love to, and the channels themselves are desperate to bring that functionality in-house. What hasn't existed is the actual infrastructure to support that, right? You can't actually buy things from GQ. You can't actually buy things from, Twitter. But what if you could? And that is what our headless checkout is. And so the button that we put on brands' websites, they can now put that button anywhere they like, right? If you're a football team, you can put in a QR code and run it, throughout the stadium. If you're a publisher, you can embed the button natively into articles and gift guides and reviews. If you're a social network, you can embed, you can have the link in Instagram stories. You can have, links in Twitter. And for brands as well, we have CRM teams who are using it in emails and SMS, embedding the button into emails and SMS. And we have performance teams using it in display ads. And so this is really transformative. It means it turns every single marketing channel for a brand into an instantly transactable channel. So frankly, Fast isn't a payments product, which is optimizing this last click. We're a growth product, right? Brands are taking it on and going, all right, so if we onboard with Fast, suddenly we can sell through the entire publisher group, and publishers will start writing reviews and gift guides, including our products, and we start to see orders coming in. And so we're getting to a point that a brand can integrate with Fast on the back end, and we can, soon we'll be able to start giving them orders before they've even put in the buttons on their own website. So it's really a sort of amazing shift that's happening in commerce, and I think really, really exciting.
Awesome. James and I just messaged you. I think you might be our most energetic podcast guest ever.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I love how passionate you are about it. So onto the tech stack. So we've talked a bit about BigCommerce, and you've got kind of an out of the box, I'd imagine, app integration with them, or payments integration with them. How does the integration look for kind of people that are on homegrown platforms like you talked about? So what other platforms are you working with? And then also, what does the tech stack look like generally for Fast?
Yeah, for sure. So we support most things these days. So to give you an idea on the platforms we support BigCommerce out of the box, BigCommerce, WooCommerce, Magento, Salesforce Commerce Cloud, Commerce Tools, Oracle ATG, a couple other smaller platforms, and homegrown platforms, right? So we have we call it direct integrations. It's a set of APIs that let any merchant integrate with Fast. And we have, phenomenal solutions team that'll work with them to get them up and running. We have, preset code that they can use for different stacks to kind of get up and running faster. To give you for a full homegrown platform, we say 2 to 8 weeks, end to end. That's pretty much from like contract signing to being able to have buttons on their site. And a lot of that is, we're talking about larger companies. They do have to write code. If it's a homegrown platform, of course, they have to write code to integrate because they build everything themselves. But that gives them the full suite of Fast functionality: headless checkout, product page checkout, traditional checkout, everything we've spoken about, the batching window, all of that's included. It's pretty easy to get up and running, and that includes, testing time. So it's, coming, if you think about traditional payments companies like, the PayPals, Venmos, all these companies, they typically have much longer install windows just for the payments portion. And we managed to do the entire commerce integration in less time.
And I know, obviously, you're not a payment provider, but do you intend on broadening the kind of payment options that you offer beyond credit card?
So we do incorporate payment processing as part of checkout. You have to be able to have that end-to-end solution. But we just don't consider ourselves a typical payments company, in that that's not only what we do, right? And we're far more, like we say, we are at that growth engine. We absolutely will offer additional methods beyond card this year. One, to cater to more geographies. That card mix is just lower than it is in the US or the UK. But also, so we'll offer it from a local payment method, but you can expect other payment methods that consumers are using at scale now to be available within Fast. But that doesn't include other wallets, right? You won't see like Apple Pay within Fast Checkout, because it's just another like card method within an existing wallet.
Yeah, and linked to that, like some of the digital wallet payment methods are well embedded in specific devices, and you see this in other retailers where Apple Pay usage on iOS, where they've got a predominantly iOS audience. Do you find that you lose out where there is that device-specific behavior already there, or are you seeing Fast even overtaking some of those digital wallets within their like heartlands to be?
Yeah, so if you think about share of wallets, like I said, our share of wallet across our network today is over 31% on average, right, across our entire network. Apple Pay's share of wallet on sites that they're on is lower than that. Whether or not Fast is on that site, their share of wallet is typically in the sort of 20 to 25% range. I think most retailers listening would understand that. And Google Pay is much lower. Google Pay is like 5% or something like that. So we already beat these payment methods in terms of share of wallet and consumer usage, even on sites that they're on. The reality is, if you're on an iOS device using Safari and you've got Apple Pay enabled, it's still faster for you to click Fast Checkout and buy than it is for you to use Apple Pay. And plus, Apple Pay is at the end of a long flow, right? At the end of the traditional checkout flow. You don't have post-purchase. It doesn't know what you're buying. You can only buy one item at a time or whatever it is that you're looking at. Like, it's so limited. I'm an Apple Pay customer. I use Apple Pay. I've got no problem with the product, but it's just a very Apple Pay is the payment button of Web 1.5/2.0, and it's the best experience that you could have using that. But we're really enabling like a whole new paradigm of commerce that these buttons just can't do.
Yeah, it's interesting because the benefit. I'm an iOS user, and the benefit of Apple Pay is simply I don't have to enter my card details. It's just the authentication, but it's only taken off a tiny bit. The bit that I've found interesting as a consumer, not just as a consultant, with Fast, is that cart editing, because I shopped low. I sent it to Ed from Worth. I did a lot of my Christmas shopping for my kids from Worth because I love their products, and I cocked up one of the orders. And I was like, oh no. And then that usual thing, if your order's gone through and I have to phone somebody or email somebody, or no, sorry, it's already gone to the warehouse, you'll have to just return it. And you're like, oh my God. Whereas that ability to realize that I've been a complete idiot was I can see why that's a USP.
Yeah. People ask all the time, like, do refund rates go up or do return rates go up when people use Fast, right? It's the opposite. They typically go down because we give people we make it as fast and easy as possible to buy things, but we don't make people scared to click the button, right? We want people to be fearless to click the button. And a lot of that comes because, you get 5 minutes or you get a longer period to actually modify your order or cancel your order if you misclicked or whatever else. And so it is so consumer friendly, and it means that, we can greatly cut down on that customer experience. And even if you've left the site, right, we have sent you an email saying that the order went through. You can click the link on the email, get taken to our post-purchase experience, the Fast app, and you can still edit or cancel your order from there. So you have like a variety of options to fix your order right after the point that you've clicked.
Absolutely. I think that's going to be it's going to be bigger anyway. So like a lot of the D2C brands are doing like 10-minute window, things like that, just so that they can do post-purchase recommendations and all of that kind of stuff. So I think that's going to be a big trend. So last question. So I guess we've already kind of touched on some of the things that might be on your roadmap. And we did have a question on international, but I already kind of ate into that a little bit with another one of my questions. But what else is on your roadmap for 2022? Like, what else is coming from Fast?
That we have a lot of very, very exciting product coming out of Fast. I think the first one is, we want to get the button in front of more consumers, right? Which means more sellers and larger sellers. And like I said, even in the UK, I would say almost, especially in the UK, about 50, 60% of the logos coming out of Fast are really big UK-based companies. So there's going to be lots and lots of big brands and places for you to use Fast, even more so than now. But on top of that, it's Headless Checkout really is a big push. It's a push for us, it's a push for brands, it's a push for creators. The first half of this year, you're going to start to see a lot more of Headless Checkout in big publishers, right? The world's biggest publishers using Fast at scale to enable check out the point of inspiration. The second half of this year, you're going to see like everyday creators using it, influencers, maybe starting with like larger influencers on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter and everywhere else, YouTube. But then, the thing that really excites me is how can, a young mum who has her favorite Honest Company diapers just share a link to the diapers that she uses when she posts about them on Instagram to 100 other, young mum followers that want to share. Or, for someone like me wants to share, all the action sport that I do and the new gear that I've bought, how can I just share a link so people can buy the same thing? Or if you are a pro athlete, if you're someone that plays for Tottenham Hotspur, then how can you share a link to your jersey for your fans to buy, right? And just share a link on Instagram, let people buy it in one click. And so, we're really enabling this instant commerce for creators of all sizes, and this is where you're going to see a lot coming out of our space over the next 12 months. But we also have a number of other exciting product areas I can't talk about yet, but that are coming very soon.
You could tell us, but you'd have to kill us.
Yes, exactly. And all the listeners.
Yeah, that's a little bit extreme, but
it would take me a while. Yeah. Stay focused on checkout.
I've got one final classic question. You may or may not want to answer it. Sure. The thing that always I hear when I'm talking to e-commerce teams, but it's going to cost me X, Y, and Z, or the percentage fees are going to make it not work with my budget. How does the fee structure with Fast work compared with other payment providers that people are used to?
Oh, I love that you asked me this question. So Fast is completely margin neutral. So we always have one of the simplest commercial models. When it comes to commercial discussions, brands just sign almost instantly. We match your existing payment rate. Whatever you're currently paying for payments to a traditional payment processor that's just powering the payment form at the end of your checkout flow, we match that rate. So anytime somebody clicks Fast Checkout, we charge you the exact same rate as if they just went through your typical checkout form, nothing more. So it's a margin neutral exercise for brands. There's no setup fees. There's no hidden fees at all. It is just the same amount that you'd already be paying, but you get all the benefits of Fast. You get all of our tech essentially for free. You get all the conversion rate increase, average order value increase. You get headless checkout, everything. So it is an extremely easy commercial model.
Excellent. We've covered all our questions, and that was, as Paul said, really enjoyed the energy and enthusiasm. It's always nice when people feel passionate about what they're providing. So thanks, Dom, for coming onto the podcast.
Of course. Thanks so much for having me.
And also, if people want to learn more, or maybe people have got more technical questions about a specific use case, who do they reach out? How do they reach out?
Fast.co. Just go to www.fast.co. If you're a business, you can go to fast.co/sellers, SELLERS, or you can email sales@fast.co.
Wonderful. And thanks for everyone who's listened. I hope you found that an interesting episode too. Keep an ear open for the next episode. We land new one every Tuesday. And please do subscribe if you haven't already, and give us a rating on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. Until next week, everyone.
Thanks so much.
For more information on this topic, head over to replatform.fm for our audio podcasts. To discuss a project, or if you'd like to chat about any of the topics covered in this episode in more detail, please reach out to myself, James Gurd, or my co-host Paul Rogers via LinkedIn and Twitter. Thanks again for listening, and keep your ears peeled for the next episode.